My buddy Fenton from the Zygrene YouTube channel just bought this red NC1 NSX. And you would think that someone like Fenton, who's reviewed over 400 enthusiast cars, would make a really intelligent decision when it comes to buying his first supercar. But for over 100 grand, buying a dated car like this, the NC1, I mean, I'm kind of speechless, honestly. I'm just trying to be polite as I tell him this.
What do you think so far?
You know, bro, if you're happy, that's all that counts.
Uh-oh. What does that mean?
I mean, if it was my money... No, I'm just kidding, bro. It's fucking awesome. My good buddy Fenton, aka Zypoppy from the Zygrene channel, just bought this 2017 Acura NSX, the NC2. And I gotta admit, when he called me saying, hey, Kevin, should I buy this car? I'm considering it. I was like, bro, how much of an Acura fanboy are you really? You got the NA1 NSX, you got the DE5 Integra Type S, and now you want to get another Acura? He bought the car for $114,000 in this gorgeous red, I must say. It looks very similar to the Soul Red Crystal from Mazda that I have on my Miata. And the in-person presence is excellent. I think the car is gorgeous from the rear. The front end is probably not the strong suit, still looks fine, but like the rear three-quarter looks fucking phenomenal, especially with these flying buttresses. You can fit your hand through there. Love that. Just like in the Ford GT as well. I will say though that the wheels feel a little bit overstyled. Not sure how well they're going to age, but still a very sharp looking car. So the question today is, did my buddy Fenton, aka Zypoppy, spend his money well when going for the NC1 NSX, or was his Acura fanboyness just too much and led him astray? Because if you remember, like I do, when this car first came out, the reviews were not good. They were mostly negative. The car is powered by a 75-degree dry sump 3.5-liter twin turbocharged V6, making 500 horsepower, 406 pound-feet of torque with a 7,500 RPM redline. But it has 3 electric motors. So one is a direct drive motor that's between the engine and the transmission for torque fill. Then you have 2 motors in the front. They call these the twin motor units that independently drive each wheel. The total output with the engine and the electric motors is 573 horsepower, 476 pound-feet of torque, made it to a 9-speed DCT. We have drive-by-wire throttle and brake pedals, but it has electric power steering, not steer-by-wire, as some early reviews incorrectly stated. The chassis is primarily aluminum. The curb weight, get this, it's even heavier than a GTR, which weighs in at 3,800 pounds. This is almost 4,000. It is 3,900 pounds. But it's mated to Gen 3 magneto-rheological dampers with double wishbone front, multi-link rear suspension geometry. We have Brembo 6-piston front, 4-piston rear brakes, and this one also includes the optional carbon ceramic brakes, which is a $10,500 option. We got 19 and 20-inch staggered wheels. These are the optional interwoven wheels, and it's wrapped in Michelin Pilot Super Sports, 245 in the front, 305 section width in the rear, although it did originally come with Continental tires from the factory. It includes the optional technology package with ELS sound system, and that includes 9 speakers, built-in nav, Acura Link, and front and rear parking sensors, rated at 21 mpg combined, but he's actually achieved 25.5, primarily with freeway driving. Not bad for your supercar. That's actually better than my Mazda CX-50, which is fucking hilarious. And for those who know, I actually spent $105,000 on a Lotus Emira. This is not mine. This one in Vivid Red looks great, but mine is Atlantis Blue. You can see my other videos of my Lotus Emira first edition elsewhere on the channel, but that one was $105,000 brand new MSRP. This one, MSRP was closer to $200K, but now he bought his for a little bit less than 10K over what I got mine for, $114,000. Got the same door style as in the Emira, actually, although this is like a nice metal. This feels great. Much nicer than what I have in the Emira. The interior is very much Acura. And doesn't feel, I mean, for a supercar, you know, the interior is okay. Let's just say that. This actually reminds me of like a Sella Italia SMP saddle for the cyclists out there. It has the same kind of shape. We should have different modes here. And you have quiet, sport, sport plus, and if you hold, you go all the way to track, and you can see what's changing here with the powertrain, the super handling all-wheel drive, the VSA, the suspension, and the steering. We're gonna start this off in sport and start in auto as well. To start, the car is actually quite comfortable. Good seating position. I find it hilarious that both Fenton and I have the wheel telescoped all the way out, and he's like 6 inches shorter than me. I wish car manufacturers would have their steering wheel telescope more. This is straight up surgical precision in the front, although the feedback is definitely lacking. It is E-Pass. Let's actually turn this into sport mode, or actually Sport Plus, I should say. Brakes actually feel excellent. Nice firm pedal, and these are brake-by-wire. I'm gonna change this into manual. Let's actually go all the way up into track mode. There we are. You can feel the damper is much stiffer in this setting. Excellent body control, minimal body roll. It actually holds the gear for you, it won't auto upshift. What in the world? How does this thing weigh 3,900 pounds? Incredible. Far more agile and nimble than I was expecting. And because you have that electric motor to fill, you're not getting massive lag like in the GTR. This does feel like a cousin to the Nissan GTR. Japanese, precise inputs, heavy weight, all-wheel drive. This feels far more special and far more, I mean, it feels like a supercar. It is a supercar. This is a low center of gravity, mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, technically all-wheel drive, but the actual internal combustion engine going straight to the rear wheels, just like in the GTR, which sends power to the rear and only to the front when needed. But here we have electric motors to the front. Let's give you a pull. Quick shifts. That's a good amount of power too, man. I like that it gives you that little torque dip right between shifts and just kicks you in the back. A little more drama. Dude, I'm really surprised. Why is this car slept on so much? No one talks about buying an NC1 NSX. This car is really impressing me right now. And at $114,000, you get a lot of driving experience for the money. I mean, compared to the Lotus Emira, that car gives you way more communication. The steering, right? That you can get that with the manual transmission. This is obviously gonna have DCT only. It's much lighter, 700 pounds lighter, and you can feel that in the chassis, right? You can feel the communication. It's more raw, it feels more old school, even though it is a newer car by like 8 years, simply because it's that fundamental basic formula, but the performance of a Lotus Emira versus something like this is night and day. This thing is a straight rocket ship, dude. Now, to critique the car, I really wish the steering had more feedback. Even as I'm pushing it harder, the steering's not telling me much at all. It is very, very muted. The brakes, they feel excellent. I like the firm pedal, the amount of travel to it. It just feels, almost as precise as the steering rack, which is razor sharp, surgically precise. However, the throttle tip-in, I don't like because it goes from 0 to 10% throttle instantly. It's very hard to do 5% throttle input. Woohoo! Getting a bit of yaw. I guess track mode will do that for you. Oh, really kicking the tail out there. Interesting. It kicks the tail out, but that wasn't the most progressive and easy yaw. And I think part of that is the weight, which can dampen some of the chassis communication, and also the way that the electric motors in the front help you claw for grip. You actually, as you get a little bit of yaw, compared to other rear-wheel drive vehicles like the Lotus Emira, mid-engine rear-wheel drive. Interesting. I think there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve as you get this car to the limit and dance with a little bit of oversteer. You know, transmission is definitely not a Porsche PDK, but For 2017, this is actually a pretty sharp transmission. I have no complaints. When you're driving it hard, both on upshifts and downshifts, it's quick enough. When you want it to be smooth, it's very smooth. And want a little bit more theater, closer to redline and track mode, it gives you that little kick in the back. This really does feel like a cousin to the Nissan GT-R, like a similar weight, but mid-engine, rear-wheel drive, supercar version of the Nissan GT-R. And again, compared to the Emira behind us, that's just a sports car, and it's almost the same price, $105,000 versus this, $114,000 for this particular example. But this is a proper supercar, and it's giving you a level of performance that is far greater than in the Emira. However, what you have to ask yourself is how important is performance versus communication, right? And Fenton and I do actually differ on this a little bit, because when he was talking through his different car options, he was like, well, I love the Emira, I love the communication, but it's just not fast enough, and the performance isn't there, and the lap times, etc., for a price, for a car of that price. And I feel a little bit differently. I feel that for certain cars, I feel that based on the use case of the vehicle, if it's primarily for street, and if it's a car that I'm not going to be tracking often, I care a lot more about the communication and the fun factor and the feedback. Now, even though this car doesn't have not even close to the same level of communication through the chassis, through the steering, as the Lotus Emira, it's still incredibly fun. Let's actually dial this back into quiet mode. Wow, what a difference. The suspension, far more comfortable. It really is quiet as well. And I know that when you hear hybrid, you're concerned, especially a used hybrid vehicle, you're concerned about things like the battery, the complexity, what if something fails. If I would trust a hybrid from any manufacturer, it would be a Japanese manufacturer like Toyota or Honda. And what they've done here to fill the turbo lag and give you that immediacy and the all-wheel drive, the extra performance, is truly exceptional. Let's give you one more pull. Yeah, that is some serious performance for $114,000. More than 500 horsepower, and it's not all just going to the rear wheels, right? So then when you are cornering, you get the front end pulling you along as well, which is going to give you some additional benefits, more confidence, more traction, exiting corners and such. Yo, I'm super hyped for my buddy Fenton. He's been working hard, and he's earned his first ever supercar, which is fucking sick. Kudos to him. And I think he made a great choice. I think for $114,000 this is excellent. We had an extensive conversation about like the various options and whether he should purchase this, the arguments for, the arguments against. It was the kind of discussion that only true car autists could really have. And I mean, I think it was almost a no-brainer option given the circumstances. It's a lot of car for the money. It's going to hold its value very well, far better than my Lotus Emira, because it's already depreciated quite a bit, and it's not going to depreciate much more from here. So yeah, I would say that the old reviewers that used to talk hella smack about this car and said that it was not a good supercar, it was not a true NSX, I think that they don't understand what the NSX really was. The new sports car experimental, pushing the boundaries, being cutting edge, just like the NA1 was 3.5 decades ago. This NC1 NSX is similarly pushing the boundaries and evolving and showing what supercars can be in the modern era, with of course an excellent implementation of a hybrid twin turbocharged V6 powertrain. The car is definitely not perfect, but for $114,000, I think it's a great option. My friends, let me know what you think with a comment down below. Help me convince Fenton to get Zypoppy put on the license plate of this car, because he already has Zygrene on his Integra Type S. I think this one should be Zypoppy, not Zydaddy, but Zypoppy. Much love, and I'll see you all in that next one.